This has to be by far the biggest project I've ever had on Evil GT. This poor Mark II Focus RS looks like it's been dragged out of the sea judging by the amount of rust that covered our workshop floor. And if it wasn't for Ash, our grumpy mechanic, I think I would have had to call it a day with this car, and maybe even the channel. Weeks of work have gone into this, stripping, sanding, welding and painting, and she's finally back on her feet and rolling once again. We do still have some issues, even though we've replaced the front subframe, inner tie rods and trap rod ends, as well as stripping and refurbishing the Revo knuckles with brand new bearings and a lick of paint. She's still not pointing in the right direction, and that takes us to Awesome, where they can hopefully sort this out.
Hey, what's it like having brand new bolts and things to be moving around with?
I'm yet to come across a brand new bolt.
They're brand new bolts. What's up with them? That's brand new, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't done them yet.
So before we start the Geo, we're preloading the bushes, aren't we, Jamie? And then after that, we can start making sure it goes in a straight line. Drives well, doesn't it?
Drives alright. You got alignments done, it'll be well better. Feels like that.
Needs a clean, Jesus.
You'll probably notice that Jamie's only setting up the back end of the car, and that's because this is Evil GT, and nothing's ever simple. No matter what we tried, we could not get the front end of this car to line up properly, so it's back to the unit to scratch our bald heads. Look at Ash there, patiently waiting. And that's because our focus is very nearly there. All the bolts and bushes are tightened up now, this car sits perfectly. And the wheels at the back end of the car all point in the same direction. But whilst at Awesome, we stumbled upon a bit of a problem. And that was, in order to get the steering wheel straight, one of these trap rod ends needed to be wound all the way in, and the other one needed to be wound all the way out. And the one wound all the way out would have been pretty dangerous because it was on like 3 or 4 threads. So now we've set the trap rod straight on both sides. That has thrown our steering wheel out. And in addition to that, there's still more lock one way than there is the other. So clearly something's still not quite right. And all the evidence is pointing to the steering rack. Now this fault was there before we replaced the subframe, but when we did that, we made sure to lock the steering so that nothing moved. So it's gone back on as it come off. And we're thinking that it could be the steering rack that's not centered. And that was the issue before we replaced this subframe and all the other suspension components. This is another one of them scenarios where you're just gonna have to bear with me as I explain this to you. We measured the pinion that runs through the center of the steering rack with the wheel on full lock, and that measurement was 130mm. To center the rack then, we need to go half, which is about 65mm. That got the wheels pointing virtually straight, but the steering wheel was out almost a quarter of a turn. So something is definitely not right. So we're still none the wiser, and we can't adjust the column onto the steering rack because there's only one way that will go on.
Tell the ramp's fucking stuck in typical Evil GT bullshit or whatever you say. Why are you recording me?
He does talk occasionally. There's usually a lot of effing and jeffing or moaning. But on a serious note, the ramp's stuck. We can't actually get it down. Now the steering wheels on these aren't like VAG stuff. It's not a multi-spline where you can move it in tiny little increments. They are big adjustments to the steering wheel. It's a hex nut. So Ash now has moved it one over on the hex nut, one side over on the hex nut, which is quite a big adjustment. So I'm hoping when you get the steering wheel centered in there, Ash, these wheels point straight. Go for it.
That should be right.
That should be right. Well, that looks pretty good to me. That looks straight. Near side looks pretty close, but the actual trap rod end is wound in a tiny bit more on this side than it is on that side. So that would explain why that one is ever so slightly in. But that, mate, I think we've cracked it. The reason why this was so difficult to fathom was because the old trap rod ends and the old inner tie rods were all different. They then geoed it to make that suit, which meant one was wound all the way in, one was wound all the way out. Because the steering wheel was pissed, they then put the steering wheel straight but pissed. But everything is now pointing in the right direction. I'll stop recording then, but Ash just said some wanker has been fucking about with the steering wheel and put it one side on the hex nut out. Can you stop messing about now, Ash, and get down, please? We've got work to do.
Hey, you can get fucked if you think you're filming this.
Health and safety, please don't watch. Look at this. Now we can get it geoed properly by the guys at Awesome.
If we can get it off the ramp.
If we can get it off the ramp. It's one thing after another. And whilst Ash struggles with his sense of direction, I want to show you why I think this car was worth saving. My fault that I didn't tell Ash that he got to back it in. This time we're at Performance M because Awesome's fully booked. Yeah, she was tatty, but she's a straight car. Not recorded as stolen, no mileage discrepancies, no outstanding finance, and most important, no damage. Well done, mate, you've nailed that. How are you getting on with the turning circle? This Mark III Focus RS has had a serious accident. Many car vertical reports show photos of the damage, and this leaves nothing to the imagination. Hiya.
Been a while since I've done a deal.
You know what you're doing? Do you need help? I'm a professional, me, mate.
Definitely not off you.
Why have you got to be like that? Don't be friends. Don't listen to him now. He's just jealous because I'm learning more and more, and I'll end up taking over him anyway. Unsurprisingly, this thing's a category B, meaning it can't go back on the road and can only be used for parts. We're all in the green and we're all straight now. Off the ramp, it needs a clean. Car Vertical checks thousands of different databases all across the world to give you the most comprehensive car history check out there. So make sure you hit the link in the description box below and use code EvilGT for your money off. We all know that when you get a Mark II Focus RS, there's only one place to go, and that is McDonald's. Generally, it's the car park of an evening. Could I just have a large strawberry milkshake, please? Thank you. Listen to this. Let's find out what's happened. Well, I should be pleased to know, mate, in true Evil GT style, as you mentioned earlier on in the video, I've broken the Focus. I now have an engine management light on and absolutely no boost. Not only that, the clutch is slipping really bad, so that needs replacing. I literally don't know what to say. It's like a few steps forward and then even more backwards every time with every car that we have. And annoyingly, I can't see anything obvious. I've literally had a good look down the bottom. It's like a boost pipe's come off. You can hear the turbo spooling. I can definitely hear something when I put my foot down a little bit, but there's absolutely no power. A weird noise. Even the boost gauge on the dash doesn't move as well. It's not registering any boost, so I don't know. Don't worry about that rattle. That's just that. Ford build quality. I mean, she sounds all right ticking over, but give me strength. I'll give it a bit of a rev there. That centre dial should be registering some sort of boost, and we've got nothing. But I've also just realised it's saying we've got no oil temperature either, which is weird because I've been running this car now for about half an hour. I can see that the coolant's up to about the right temperature, but that's not. I don't know what to say, man. Thank God I've got Ash, is probably all I can say. He's gonna have to help me out with this car. So according to the gauges on the inside, we've got no oil temperature. Trust me, that is hot. And we've got no boost, which is definitely right because I tried putting my foot down and there's no boost. So although we've got some bits sorted, we've now got other bits to sort. I'm gonna try and get the noise, which sounds like turbo spool to me. I don't know if you can hear that. It's making noise like it's spooling, but I've got no power. Just when you think you're getting towards the end of the content on a car and it throws a spanner in the works, it's like it doesn't want to go. I'm going to get back to the unit and give it a clean anyway. Do you know what? We're going to think positive thoughts. That's got to just be a boost pipe that's come off. And if me and Ash, with my expert knowledge, can change a gearbox and torque converter on a Range Rover, we can definitely do a clutch on a Focus. A subscribe to the channel would be really appreciated to follow the progress on our little high mileage hero here. I'm not a massive fan of cleaning cars. I know a lot of you out there who are, my dad being one of them, but when the end result looks this good, it does make it all worthwhile. And that concludes our Mark II Focus RS project. Yeah, right. Driving it back from Awesome with perfectly straight, absolutely brilliant, precise steering. I've spoken with Collins Performance and they are absolutely certain that the OEM clutch can handle the power that this has now got. So I think we've just found that the clutch that was in it was on its way and the extra power has found that out. And the annoying thing is I'm planning on taking this to Jamie's track day at Donington Park on the 4th of November, and that absolutely won't be possible with a dodgy clutch. So now it's a race against time to get that sorted out before the 4th of November. So if you've enjoyed watching today's video, thank you very much for watching. Please like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It means a massive amount. There's still content to come on the Mark II Focus RS. Probably not a huge amount more, but there is still a bit more. She's looking $1 million, I think now. Miles better than it was before. Not perfect, it's 146,500 miles, but it's miles better. So thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one. Ta-ra.